The evening air in downtown Portland carried the scent of autumn leaves and the distant promise of rain. Michael Turner sat alone at a sidewalk table outside Café Bellacourt, watching the city settle into its familiar rhythm of evening commuters and early diners. At 62, he had learned to appreciate these quiet moments between meetings, when the demands of running Turner Holdings seemed to fade into the background. The pasta arrabbiata sat half-finished on his plate. His appetite had diminished lately, a casualty of too many business dinners and the lingering grief that still visited him unexpectedly. It had been 2 years since Margaret's passing, and though the sharp edges of loss had softened, solitary meals still felt incomplete. Michael glanced at his watch, a vintage Rolex that Margaret had given him for their 25th anniversary. The board meeting wasn't until tomorrow morning, and his hotel room held little appeal. He'd grown accustomed to extending these simple pleasures, finding comfort in observing the life that flowed around him on the busy street. A young woman approached the cafe's outdoor seating area, moving with the careful steps of someone carrying precious cargo. She held a baby close to her chest, wrapped in what appeared to be a hand-knitted blanket. Her brown hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and her clothes, while clean, showed the wear of difficult circumstances. Michael watched as she paused near the restaurant's entrance, her eyes scanning the outdoor diners with a mixture of hope and hesitation. There was something in her posture that spoke of quiet desperation, held in check by dignity. When their eyes briefly met, he saw not just need but intelligence and strength. The woman approached his table with measured steps, stopping at a respectful distance. "Excuse me, sir," she said softly, her voice gentle but clear. "I'm sorry to bother you, but I noticed you weren't finishing your meal. May I have your leftovers?" The question hung in the cool evening air. Michael had been asked for money countless times over the years, but never quite like this. There was no manipulation in her tone, no pretense, just honest need. She couldn't have been more than 25, with eyes shadowed by exhaustion, the kind that comes from sleepless nights with a baby. The child stirred slightly, making small sounds only a parent would recognize. "Of course," Michael said, pushing his chair back. "Please, would you like to sit down?" The woman hesitated. "I don't want to intrude on your evening." "You're not intruding," Michael replied kindly. "I was just finishing up anyway. Please." She settled into the chair across from him, adjusting the baby with practiced care. The infant looked about 4 months old, tiny fingers occasionally escaping the blanket to grasp at the air. "I'm Michael," he said, signaling the waiter. "Emily," she replied. "And this is Grace." The waiter arrived and Michael ordered another portion of pasta, along with bread and tea. "The food here is quite good," he said with a smile. "You shouldn't have to settle for leftovers." Emily's eyes glistened, though she quickly blinked away the tears. "You don't have to do that." "I didn't mean—" "I know what you meant," Michael interrupted softly. "But I'd like to buy you dinner if you'll let me." As they waited, Emily shared her story. She had come to Portland 6 months earlier, escaping an abusive relationship. She'd worked at a diner, but the hours were unstable, and childcare cost more than she could afford. 2 weeks ago, the diner closed suddenly, she explained, gently rocking Grace. "I've been staying at a women's shelter. There's a waiting list for longer-term programs. But I have a job interview tomorrow at a hotel downtown, housekeeping. It's not much, but it's something." Michael listened quietly. He thought of his own daughter, Laura, now 35, living in Seattle with her family. What if she had ever been in Emily's place? When the food arrived, Emily ate slowly, savoring each bite while keeping one hand on Grace. "How old is she?" Michael asked. 4 months next week, Emily said, her voice warming as she looked at her daughter. "She's been such a good baby." Sometimes I think she understands we're in this together. Michael smiled. Babies know more than we realize. My daughter was the same. She somehow knew when Margaret and I needed her to be patient as we learned to be parents. You have a daughter? Emily asked. Yes, Laura. 2 kids of her own now. He showed her a photo on his phone. Time moves so fast. One day you're worried about teething, and the next you're watching them graduate. They talked as the evening deepened. Emily spoke of finishing her nursing degree someday, of wanting a better life for Grace. Michael shared memories of Margaret, and how together they had started a foundation to help families in crisis. She always said everyone deserves a second chance, he told her, and that circumstances don't define character. As the cafe grew quieter, Michael made a decision that felt both natural and necessary. He took out a business card and wrote something on the back. Emily, he said, handing it to her, call this number tomorrow morning. As for Helen Martinez, she runs our family assistance program. Emily looked down, confused. I don't understand. The Turner Foundation helps families in transition, housing, childcare, job placement. It's what we do. Her hands trembled slightly. But why? You don't even know me. Michael smiled gently, watching baby Grace open her eyes and gaze at the lights. Because 35 years ago my wife and I were in your shoes. Broke, scared with a newborn. A stranger helped us, not with charity, but with opportunity. His name was Mr. Kowalski. He gave me my first real job. He taught me that success isn't what you earn, it's what you share. Tears streamed down Emily's cheeks. I don't know what to say. Just say you'll call Helen tomorrow. Say you'll let us help. I will, she whispered. Thank you. As she prepared to leave, Michael asked, that interview tomorrow, what time? 10 o'clock. At the Marriott downtown? He smiled. The general manager there, Tom Bradley, is an old friend. I'll give him a call, not to guarantee anything, but to make sure they see what I saw tonight, someone with strength and determination. 6 months later, Michael received a handwritten letter. Emily had gotten the hotel job. With the foundation's help, she'd moved into a small apartment near Grace's daycare and had started night classes for nursing. She included a photo of Grace, sitting up, smiling brightly. Mr. Turner, the letter read, I think about that evening often. You showed me that asking for help isn't weakness, and accepting kindness isn't shame. You reminded me that we're all connected, that we all matter. Someday I'll pay it forward just like you did. Michael folded the letter carefully and placed it beside Margaret's photo in his desk drawer. He thought about that night, how a simple request for leftovers had turned into a shared moment of grace. Later, he called Laura in Seattle. I've been thinking about your mother's favorite saying, he told her. Everyone deserves a second chance. What about it, Dad? I think she would have added something, that sometimes giving someone else a second chance gives you one. 2. As Michael looked out over the city lights, he realized the truth of it. The most meaningful moments often arrive quietly, in the courage of a young mother, in the compassion of a stranger, in the shared miracle of kindness. What looks like charity is often grace, offered and received in equal measure. A reminder that we're more alike than different, and never truly alone, as long as we stay open to connection. The evening air still carried the scent of autumn and the promise of rain. But now, it also carried the memory of a simple conversation that changed 2 lives, one act of kindness at a time.